screen that I'm looking at does not have all of your pictures on there. So the screen is telling us that there's a second screen with other councillors on it. That's going to make it interesting when they want to talk. You'll know.
Have you got all faces?
Have you got all the faces?
No, but I'll know. Don't you worry.
Okay. Right, are we ready? Okay, Robin.
Okay, here we go then. Good evening, members. Welcome to this meeting of the council. This is the first meeting we've formally held on a virtual basis, so I ask you to bear with us as we feel our way through this new process. And I also ask you to follow the guidelines which have been circulated to you. As you can see, I'm self-isolating with most of you. We're following government guidelines regarding the size of meetings and what have you. This video link meeting is the first we have run for a full council. We've had to think hard how best we should handle the logistics. We've decided it would be sensible to ask another councillor to chair the business items on the agenda. They will be in the chamber and with just a few well-spaced officers, as you can see. And they will assist with any technicalities that crop up and help with the identification of those wishing to speak, etc. I'll ask for nominations to chair this part of the meeting in due course. When we move to part 2 of the agenda, after the press and public have been asked to leave, there will be a short break where we ensure that the rest of the meeting is truly in private. So we move to item 1 on the agenda, which is to, what was that? Suspension of the council procedure rules. I move that council procedure rules 14.5, length of speech, 14.6, councillors speaking more than once, and 21.2, requirement to stand, will be suspended for this meeting. Do I have a second to this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second that proposal.
Is that agreed, members?
Agreed.
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 Agreed. Agreed.
Robin's still
Robin,
talking.
you're on mute.
I don't know how I got off that. So, beg your
You're off it
pardon.
now.
So next point, apologies. Do we have any apologies, please?
Thank you.
Can I give apologies for Morgan Rise and Tim Fitzgerald, please?
Ms. Willis, do you any more?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, there's no further apologies.
Fine, okay. Item 3, minutes. I've been advised that there was a slight typographical error in minute 81/C concerning Councillor Ratrium's amendment to his motion. This has been corrected to read fundamental British freedoms and has been included in the revised published minutes and the version which will be signed. So members, with this agreement, are you happy for me to sign the open minutes of the meeting of the 26th of February 2020?
Agreed.
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 Thank you.
Agreed.
I'll sign those minutes when the situation next enables me to do so. So item 4, do any members have any disclosable pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest to declare in relation to the matters which are to be considered this evening? I can't see everybody, so presumably if anybody's got anything to declare, they'll speak up. Yes?
I think Alan's got his hand up.
David Mansfield. Alan.
Councillor McClafferty.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. A non-pecuniary interest in that I have met with the people of Windlesham 1 and was in a meeting with them when they met with the parish council.
Rebecca Jennings.
Thank you, Councillor. So we now come to the nomination of a councillor to act as the
Robin,
Yes,
I've got a declaration as well.
I beg your pardon, I didn't see you.
That's okay. So I just need to declare a non-pecuniary interest, please, in the item on the CGR, as I am also a dual hatter and a parish councillor.
Thank you, councillor. Are there any more disclosable interests?
Valerie White.
The same as Rebecca.
Yeah, Valerie White speaking as well, same as Rebecca. I'm chairman of the parish council.
Okay, any more?
Emma McGrath, just to say that it's Windlesham and Chobham is my ward, so obviously I speak to them all the time.
Thank you. Any more?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yes, sorry. I think it's probably the same for Pat as well, but obviously as it's our ward, we speak to all residents within the ward, and we have met with the One Windlesham group on a number of occasions.
Thank you, Victoria. Any more? No.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Mayor, the same as Victoria and Emma. It's my ward, Windlesham and Chobham.
Thank you, councillor. Any more? No. Okay, I think we can move on then. So then we move on to the nomination of a councillor to act as temporary chairman for the business section of the special format council meeting this evening. Can I have any nomination for this post, please?
Where's Colin?
I wasn't aware of doing that, but I'd love to nominate Councillor McClafferty to take over the running of this meeting.
Thank you, councillor. Do you have a seconder?
I will second Councillor McClafferty.
Thank you, councillor. Are there any other nominations? Okay, so Councillor McClafferty has been proposed and seconded. All in favour, please raise your hands to agree. I can't see all the pictures. Officers, are we happy that's unanimous?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Really good. Okay, well, I therefore declare that's been agreed. So, Councillor McClafferty, over to you for the middle of the session.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, we're first going to discuss item 5, COVID-19. I would invite Richard Payne to introduce this report.
Thank you, Leader. Members, a report's been circulated covering a number of practical issues, delegations and decisions that need to be made in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and I'll run through them with you one by one. The Executive is recommending that a hardship fund of £99,000 is established to assist individuals and charities during this difficult time. This is going to be refunded from reserves. It's proposed to add an additional delegation to the scheme of delegation of functions to officers so that the Chief Executive or their nominated officer can act in the event of an emergency. The Executive has already agreed this in respect of executive functions, and you are asked to agree this in respect of the non-executive functions. It should be noted that this was once in the scheme of delegation, but unintentionally it was removed. It provides for emergencies, but please be assured that any decision making will continue to be made in consultation with members until this actually becomes impossible. We're also asking to designate and appoint officers in respect of the business closure regulations. In respect to the delegation of planning applications, we know that this has generated some discussion over recent days. There are different approaches being undertaken by other authorities in Surrey and elsewhere, including extending delegation to officers, continuing with meetings, but suspending public speaking schemes or having meetings and altering public speaking so representations are read out. We're now proposing that planning applications to continue to go ahead as virtual meetings, but we will have to alter the process for public speaking. This will be done by videos or written speeches, which we will ask to be submitted 48 hours in advance of the meeting. We will also need to suspend the site visit protocol, and the revised recommendation has actually been published following the discussions that have taken place, and should be on your iPads as a separate item for you this evening. Finally, in respect of councillor attendance rules, we're now proposing that where a councillor cannot attend a meeting in a continuous 6-month period due to COVID-19, the council waives this requirement. Now that we're able to host meetings virtually, this may not be necessary, but we are still proposing that you agree this, just in case there is any issue with a councillor being unable to attend meetings for that period of time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Payne. Thank you, Mr. Payne. Can I ask a councillor to move a motion in respect of this item?
You can, Leader. I move that the revised motion, which is published on the iPads and the website, which reflects the removal of the proposal to delegate all planning applications and to continue with planning application committee meetings, is adopted.
Thank you. And do you have a seconder?
Yes, I second that. Thank you,
Thank you.
Councillor Galliford.
Okay. Would any other members like to speak on this proposal? Okay, I would just like to say thank you to everyone who put forward their views, particularly around the planning application. I know it was mentioned that there was a lot of work, a lot of people were interested in how that would work, and we made sure that there was fair representation. And I think what we've got and what we've ended up with is an improvement on what we had originally proposed. So well done to everybody who did that. Okay. Members, we have a motion before us. I will ask Mr. Payne to read out your names and ask those of you attending virtually to unmute your speaker when indicating your vote, and then please remute it.
Councillor Dan Adams.
In favour.
Graham Alloway.
In favour.
Sorry, if you mind, I won't use the councillor bit, just if that's okay with you, councillors. Peter Barnett.
He's just rejoined.
Rodney Bates.
In favour.
Cliff Betton.
In favour.
Richard Brooks.
In favour.
Sarah Jane Croak.
In favour.
Vivian Chapman. Paul Deach.
Vivian was struggling to unmute there.
I'll come back to you, Vivian. Okay. Paul Deach.
In favour.
Are you there, Vivian?
Hang on, I'll unmute it. She's in favour.
Okay, Peter Barnett. Is Peter Barnett back? Colin Dugan.
In favour.
Fitzgerald. Sharon Galliford.
In favour.
Sean Garrett.
In favour.
Edward Hawkins.
Agreed.
Josephine Hawkins.
In favour.
Jennings Evans.
In favour.
Ben Leach.
In favour.
David Lewis.
Struggling to unmute.
In favour.
David Mansfield.
In favour.
Alan McClafferty.
In favour.
Emma J. McGrath. Sorry, Emma McGrath.
In favour.
Charlotte Morley.
In favour.
Sashi Marbaganam.
In favour.
Adrian Page.
In favour.
Robin Perry.
In favour.
Errol Ratteran.
In favour.
John Skipper.
In favour.
Brent Tapper.
In favour.
Matt Tedder.
In favour.
Victoria Wheeler.
In favour.
Whitcroft.
In favour.
Louis White.
In favour.
Christian Wren.
In favour.
Peter Barnett. Peter.
In favour.
Thank you.
Unanimous?
Yes, unanimous.
Okay, that was unanimous. I therefore declare the motion passed. Okay, we now move on to item 6, Community Governance Review. I'd like to invite Richard Payne to introduce this report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you'll be aware, members, the Windlesham Community Governance Review was discussed at the last meeting, and it was agreed to form a working group to discuss the way forward for the second stage of the review. The working group met on the 18th of March, and a proposed way forward was agreed in principle. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we don't feel we can carry out the review and give the second stage of consultation the time it deserves, including allowing residents who are affected by the pandemic to participate. The Community Governance Review was due to have been completed in July. This is in line with the legislative requirements for it to be completed within 12 months. However, we are in unprecedented times, and we've obtained legal advice indicating that the Council's proposal to pause the review is sound. We will bring a further report to the Council as soon as is possible, and it's not intended to delay the review any longer than is necessary.
Thank you. Can I ask a councillor to move a motion in respect of this item?
I move. Sorry. I move that the recommendation.
Steady on, Sashi. Steady on. I move that the recommendations set out in the report be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Duggan. And do you have a seconder?
I jumped the gun. I will second it.
Thank you, Councillor Mailvaginam. Would any of the members like to speak on this proposal? Councillor Wheeler?
We please, it's very brief. I would just like to take the opportunity, I'm sure this will go back to the members of Windlesham Parish Council, and I know that we've got a number of dual hatters here. As part of the way forward, a sort of a pragmatic approach was agreed within the working group. So it's just really that if we can offer any encouragement to the members of Windlesham Parish Council to pursue that as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Noted, thank you. Any other members? No. Okay then. So members, we have a motion before us. I'll ask Mr. Payne again to read out the names. Again, please unmute and then mute your microphone immediately after. Thank you.
Chairman, with your agreement, and given there was no comment, would it be possible for me to, rather than read through the list, ask if anybody has any objection, and if so, could they make themselves known now? Otherwise, rather than go through the list, assume that it's unanimous for this matter. Is that acceptable?
Okay, can everybody just give us a thumbs up if they agree that?
Hold it there, everyone.
That's got to be one of the most positive pictures I've ever seen.
I can't see Edward Hawkins' thumb.
Can't see Edward Hawkins' thumb.
Yep.
It was on the screen, but there you are.
Right.
Oh. Okay, I've lost it.
Thank you.
There you go. There's there. I've got there now, eventually.
Thank you. Right. Okay, members, I declare the motion passed. I will now hand back to the Mayor.
Thank you, Leader. Members, before we move to the second part of our meeting, I'd just like you to join me in showing our support and respect for the NHS and other carers working on frontline during this crisis. The idea of doing this has been suggested by several councillors, so my thanks to them. So if you'd all like to just join me for a second or up to a minute, just to show our appreciation. Yes?
More enthusiastic you over there. How long is a minute? 45 seconds.
Well done, Darryl.
I think we're there. So thank you, members, for that. I think we all appreciate what they've been doing out there on our behalf. So item 7 now, exclusion of the press and public. I move that under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the consideration of business set out in items 8, 9, 10 on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1, 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act. Do I have a seconder for that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second that proposal.
Members, is that agreed?
Agreed.
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 Okay, members.
Agreed.
Anybody not agree? Okay. As mentioned earlier, members, there will be a short break now while we move to part 2 of the agenda, and we propose to start again in 5 minutes. I believe the instruction is you just leave your screen alone. The technically